One of the main things that I think separates a pro-sounding record from one that feels just a little bit less polished is a really good vocal mix. These days, it is not super uncommon to have vocal stacks that have 6, 7, even 10 plus layers. And getting all of those vocals to sit perfectly in the mix together can kind of make or break the song. Today, I want to walk you through how I mixed this vocal stack. Hopefully give you the pointers that you need to tackle your next vocal mix. A quick shout out to my friends at Synchro Arts for sponsoring today's video. Synchro Arts make VocAlign Pro, which is a plugin that takes a lot of the manual labor out of aligning vocals. Really cool plugin that can save you a ton of time. It's one of a handful of tools that I'm going to show you in this tutorial. So let's get started and hop into the session. This is a song that I co-wrote with my good friend Chandler J. It's called Selective. A lot of great vocals on this song. And the first thing I like to do before I start mixing or processing any audio is get my session organized. I find it's really helpful to group audio tracks together into different buses. So for example, all of my drum tracks are grouped together. They're going to this drum bus. All of my keys, same thing, grouped together, going to this keys bus, guitars, and then all of my different vocals as well. And you can think of these groups as audio that you want to kind of group together and process together. So in the case of the vocals, I have all of my lead vocals in one group going to my lead vocal bus. I have my harmonies all in one group going to a harmonies bus. And then lastly, I've got some background vocals that I wanted to process differently than the harmonies. So I've got those all grouped together, and those are going to a separate background vocal bus. You could even take this a step further, send all three of these to a master vocal bus. But in the case of this mix, I've just got all three of these buses going to my mix bus. If all of this setup and routing seems like a lot of work, I definitely recommend creating a template for yourself. That way, once you're finished recording, your session is already set up and ready to start mixing. The next thing I like to do is start to balance my vocals. So today we're going to be taking a look at this chorus section. Up here in blue is our lead, and down here in various shades of purple are all of our harmonies. And you can see I've started to set some levels for these background vocals. I've got them all panned away from center so that the lead vocal is right in the middle by itself. And obviously, as we process these vocals, we're going to continue to adjust the levels. This is really just a starting point. The next thing I like to do is focus on tuning and time aligning all of my vocals. What was fun and also challenging about this vocal stack is we have our lead vocal up here, and then these 6 harmonies are harmonizing with the entire lead vocal as opposed to just some words and phrases here and there. So there's a lot to time align. You can look, if we zoom in, you can start to see how really out of alignment all of these harmonies are in comparison to the lead vocal. If we take a listen,
calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
It doesn't sound bad, but we can definitely time align these a little bit better, tighten this up, and give this vocal stack a really polished sound. I want to bring you over here to the second chorus for a second, just to give you an idea of what it looks like when you do this manually. You can see all of these little cuts here where I sliced and nudged audio around just to get it to sit a little bit better. But you can absolutely go through, kind of go waveform by waveform, move things around, line all the audio up perfectly. But obviously the more vocal layers that you're working with, the more time consuming that is. So that is where a tool like VocAlign comes in really, really handy. Now, before you get started, you want to figure out what your guide vocal is going to be, meaning the vocal layer that all of the other vocal layers are going to follow and align to. In most cases, that'll be the lead vocal. That's what we're going to use in this example. And before you enable VocAlign, you just want to make sure that guide vocal or your lead vocal is timed exactly the way that you want it and tuned exactly the way that you want it. So I already have my lead vocal tuned. I just used auto-tune and then bounced my audio in place. And the timing of the vocal is exactly how I want it. I've also got all of my processing already on the lead vocal. And just for reference, I've got some EQ. I've got some light compression because I compress this vocal in the recording process. I've got 2 de-essers. I've got 1 more EQ. The last thing I added was kind of an old standby plugin, Greg Wells Voice Centric. Really simple plugin just for adding a little extra polish at the end of your vocal chain. And lastly, my 2 sends on the lead vocal are just reverb and some slap delay. So again, you want to load VocAlign first onto your guide vocal. In this case, it'll be our lead. We're using the ARA version of VocAlign. Once you open VocAlign, you want to come up here to this section that says guide, and you just want to click capture. And what that's going to do is it's going to import your lead vocal into VocAlign as your guide track. Now, what I want to do is I want to take this second lead vocal. This is actually the demo vocal that Chandler sang as we were writing this song. And I want to turn this into a double of our lead. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to add VocAlign. And under dub, we're going to come down here and we're going to create a new group. So this is going to be group 1, and you could create different groups for different vocals. Let's say you wanted to put all of your doubles into one group, all of your harmonies into another group. You can do that. And we are just going to capture our vocal. And you can see over here, the first thing that comes up is our match timing. And we can start selecting how loose or how tight we want our match timing to be. And you can see down here, our purple waveform is the output of our double. So after our double has been processed by the match timing, this is what we're going to get. And then the yellow outline is obviously our original guide vocal. So the tighter we go, the more aligned our two vocals are going to be. Obviously, the looser we go, the less aligned those vocals are going to be.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate.
You can hear what loose sounds like and then super tight.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate.
But as you listen back to the guide and the dub,
cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate.
You can hear that the dub isn't quite in tune with our guide vocal. So our next section over here is max pitch. If we come down to these 3 icons at the bottom, we can come over here to a pitch window. And as we adjust the looseness or the tightness of our match pitch, you can see that our dub in purple here is kind of stretching to match our guide vocal. Down here, our pitch target determines how closely our dub is going to be aligned to the guide. These smart pitch options are important. So in this case, for a double, we want our dub to match the pitch of the guide. But if this was a harmony, for example, we would want to set this to match unison and tune non-unison. And then lastly, you have some different pitch algorithms, and you can also transpose your vocal up or down.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
Then if we turn it off,
ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need.
Back on.
Yeah, she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
The other cool feature that you can play around with is the built-in Formant Shift.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my thoughts be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my thoughts be calling me selective, but she's all I need.
So what I want to do is quickly go through and add VocAlign to all of these harmonies so we can see how everything sounds nice and time aligned. Here is what they sound like without VocAlign.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my thoughts be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
And here are the vocals, nice and aligned.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my thoughts be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
And when you're done time aligning your vocals, you just bounce that audio in place and then you can move on to mixing. Getting all of these vocals time aligned took like less than 90 seconds. Doing it by hand, like I did over here, let's just say it took a lot longer than that. So I will of course leave a link in the video description to VocAlign Pro for any of you who think this would be a useful plugin. So now that our vocals are tuned and time aligned, we can get into mixing. The nice thing about grouping vocals together and sending them all to one vocal bus is you can do a lot of the mixing on that vocal bus and it will affect all of the vocals that are being sent to that vocal bus. I know that I want to hit all of these vocals with a de-esser. And instead of adding that de-esser to every single one of these tracks, we can just put it on our bus track.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need.
You will find sometimes that certain vocals need to be de-essed a little bit harder than others, so this doesn't always work, but in the case of this particular vocal stack, this worked out just fine. The next thing I have on this vocal bus is this channel strip plugin called Xvox Pro. Just a really simple plugin where I can add things like compression, EQ, effects really quickly, really simply in one streamlined plugin. Then I've got just a little bit more EQ, because to be honest with you, the EQ in this Xvox plugin isn't quite as detailed as I would like it to be. And then last but not least, we have a little bit of reverb. So here's what that sounds like so far.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
As I was going through and I was listening to these harmonies, there were a few that stood out to me that needed a little bit more de-essing up in that 8K range. So I just added a de-esser to 3 of these harmony tracks. And I also went through and I added a little bit more compression and EQ to each of the vocal tracks. Each one was kind of treated a little bit differently, but here's what that all sounds like.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kinda, ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick.
So I like how all of these vocals are sitting right now, but there's even more that you can do to polish these vocals up, to give them more dimension. You could play around with things like parallel compression. You could come over to your vocal bus and add something like waves doubler. And this will give your vocals just even more width.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
Another thing that I like to do from my vocal bus is send this out to an insert with chorus on it.
Cause ooh, that's my kind of chick, sweet like a chocolate. All my dogs be calling me selective, but she's all I need. Plus she kinda thick, kiss tastes like a peppermint. Yeah, that's my kind of chick. Yeah, that's my kind of.
Just add some nice dimension and modulation. A lot of really fun effects that you can play around with, but for me, getting those vocals nice and time aligned is really the key to a great sounding vocal stack. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you again to my friends at Synchro Arts for sponsoring today's video. I'm Patrick. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.